The church was nearly empty that Sunday morning, save for a handful of faithful worshippers and one figure sitting quietly in the very last row. The polished wooden pews gleamed in the soft morning light streaming through stained glass windows, casting vibrant colors on the worn tile floor. In the back, a man slouched slightly, hands folded loosely in his lap, eyes scanning the familiar yet distant surroundings. It was John Kennedy, no, not the president, but a man who carried the weight of unspoken dreams and unvoiced convictions, a man whose life had been a series of silent struggles and missed chances. That day, something was different. He didn't know it yet, but the pastor's words would stir something inside him, something he had buried for far too long. The service began in its usual rhythm, hymns, quiet prayers, and the soft murmur of congregants settling in. Kennedy, who had always preferred to remain unseen, felt the hum of the church around him like a faint vibration beneath his skin. He had come that morning not for solace, but for routine. Yet, when the pastor stepped up to the pulpit and began speaking, Kennedy felt a jolt he hadn't expected. The man's voice was steady, yet warm, as if every word was hand-picked to reach someone who had long ago stopped listening. "My friends," the pastor began, "life is not measured by the number of times we speak, but by the courage of the words we dare to speak when our hearts are trembling." Kennedy shifted in his seat. The words were simple, but they landed with precision, carving out a hollow in his chest that had long been filled with doubt. The pastor continued, telling a story of a young man who had once sat quietly in a congregation, afraid to voice his thoughts, afraid to risk the judgment of others. This young man had dreams of helping his community, of standing up for justice, but he had been paralyzed by fear. Kennedy's heart skipped a beat. The story mirrored his own life with eerie accuracy. Every dream he had ever had, every cause he had felt drawn to, had been smothered by his own hesitation. The words seemed to hang in the air long after the pastor had spoken them. Kennedy's eyes traced the beams of light from the stained glass windows, falling across the faces of his fellow congregants, people who, like him, had their own battles, their own quiet struggles. And then, in a moment he could not explain, something shifted. The weight of silence, the fear of judgment, the years of retreat, they all felt suddenly lighter, as if the church itself had breathed encouragement into his chest. After the service, while the others lingered for conversations and farewells, Kennedy remained seated, his hands gripping the edge of the pew. The pastor, noticing the man in the last row, walked over and knelt beside him. "I saw you listening," he said softly. "Your heart is speaking even if your lips are not. What is it you've been holding back?" Kennedy looked up, startled by the gentle incision.